Good.
We could get
To the end of the month.
see what's going on. She's doing this.
Hey, he came, I
Doing swimming today.
It's dark where?
texted him.
Yeah.
It's still girl.
She was great at school today, but she does,
And I saw him at the funeral.
A lot of them in the
except that
paper.
she, I think she's becoming aware that she's doing this, and she only has one daughter. You know, sometimes, you know, if you ask, she'd just go in her bedroom and close the door and lay in bed and yell and scream all the time. So it's like, I kind of feel that she understands,
Yeah.
you know, and it might not be, suggested. We'll see what he says, and we'll, you know,
Ready.
it's kind of up and down, we just want to get a handle on it.
Time being 7 o'clock, we'll call the common council to order. Lori, the roll, please.
Mr. Schrader.
Here.
Mr. Peabody.
Here.
Mr. Wirtz.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Iverson.
Here.
Mr. Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have Pastor Harshan Kotin with us this evening for invocation. Pastor?
I'm Pastor Harsha from Emmanuel United Methodist Church, and this is I passed on that one. Let us know any help if someone is needed. And let's think of the higher power above us, and in the presence of Him, think of what He says. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in the holy place? Those who have clean hands and pure hearts, who do not lift up their souls to what is false, and do not swear deceitfully. They will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from God of their salvation. Such is the company of those who seek Him, who seek the face of God of Jacob. Let us pray. Lord, lead us from falsehood to truth. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from despair to hope. Lead us from temporal things to eternal. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Next, we have approval of the agenda for this evening. Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public communication and comment. We have nothing signed up. We do have our two officers with us this evening. At the last meeting, Mr. Wirtz asked that we have them come to one of our next meetings so we can congratulate them and thank them for their service and work. They just received an award from Fond du Lac County, I believe a week and a half ago. So we do have Kaylee and Lindsay with us this evening. Jim, anything you want to say?
Chief Wallner, will you describe what they got and maybe a little background for the public at hand, and obviously we can commend them for their service?
Well, every year the Fond du Lac County Law Enforcement Executives Committee nominate officers for various awards. This year I did submit a nomination for these two officers, Sergeant Michaels and Officer Herring, for Fond du Lac County Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. This was in reference to their involvement and their dedication to the job and to the community in regards to a highly sensitive child abuse and sexual assault investigation that occurred in 2019. Both of these officers were commended for their action during that investigation. Officer Herring, for example, was initially assigned the investigation based on a complaint that she had taken, and even though she had only about a year and a half on the job with us, she had already proven herself to be committed to the job and shown some insight and some abilities that we wanted to recognize and give her an opportunity to excel at. So she really took that case by the reins and really worked diligently to identify victims, to follow up with investigations and interviews through the course of that entire investigation. Sergeant Michaels, obviously you know her work speaks for itself within this department, in this community, but she has expertise in this area, and she assisted Officer Herring throughout the course of the investigation, providing her the guidance, and that's what we expect from those supervisors, those sergeants in those positions, is to do exactly what she did. So the two of them together, along with a representative from the Fond du Lac County District Attorney's Office, worked that case, ultimately made an arrest in that case. The case was so well done that the suspect in the case did not even go to jury trial, instead pled to the charges and received a significant prison term in reference to that. So based on those things, the Fond du Lac County law enforcement executives recognized the excellent work that was done in this case by these officers and chose to honor them with this award, along with an officer from the city of Fond du Lac for basically the same type of investigation. So with that, you want to come on up here, officers? Sit in the back there. So obviously, I am very proud of the work that these officers did, and they're to be commended for that, and I think the award speaks for themselves, so. Anything you want to say? No? All right.
I'd like to say thank you.
Yep.
And job well done every day. I've met you both and known Lindsay for a long, long time. So just thank you guys very much for your service to our community. And we can sleep well with officers like you on the job. So thank you.
Next, we have consent calendar. Unless the mayor, or council, or staff asks that one or more of the items be pulled, the list may be approved with a single vote. We have two of those this evening. It's going to be the operator license for the 2019-2020 licensing period. Tricia Clifton, Ripon Shell. Staff recommends approval of all license. Also, number 2 is going to be request for temporary Class B license from Foundation for Ripon Medical Center Wine and Cheese event held Friday, April 3rd, 2020 at 845 Parkside Avenue, Main Hospital Lobby. Sean Fisher, agent. Staff has no concerns and recommends approval. Any question or discussion on either one of these items?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Any further? Oh, Doug?
Pending proper payment of fees. I'd like to add that.
Well, it's, the person that made the motion would have to
Would you accept the friendly motion, Mr. Schrader?
agree to that, and the person that seconded
Move
would.
to approve the consent calendar pending proper payment of fees.
Second.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Action items this evening, we have one of those. Going to be ordinance amend subsection 8.10.050, return of vicious dogs. Staff note attaches a proposed amendment to the city's ordinance regulating vicious dogs, dangerous dogs, and pit bulls. The language Fond du Lac County Circuit Court has been replaced with any court of law in the state of Wisconsin. Staff recommends approval. Lud, is there anything you want to just say on this so that we?
No, this is, came about because we had a recent event to take a hard look at animal ordinances in the city, and I think Captain Damstead came up with this, and so a correction that needed to be made because now we're in municipal court instead of circuit court. So this leaves open that we will be able to prosecute in any court in the state of Wisconsin if we change back to circuit or otherwise.
This would eliminate if somebody had an issue across the other side of the state and they moved to our city, and there was something that was.
That is that could well be is part of this, primarily because municipal versus circuit.
This would cover that. Yeah. Okay. Any questions or discussion? Anything at all?
Move to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion item this evening, we have Jackson Street Stream Crossing. Staff note, At the February 11th meeting, the council requested AECom's condition assessment of the Jackson Street stream crossing, for which council had authorized spending $8,500 of contingency funds. The condition assessment is attached, as well as the engineering options. Lori, can you just refresh everybody? I mean, we gave them the information, just for everybody listening and watching. We had been talking about this at the last couple of meetings, and how this came about and what our direction is moving forward.
Sure. The council had authorized us to go ahead and amend to District Number 12 because this is within the half-mile radius. So we added that language to the project plan with the approval of the Joint Review Board. And so now we do have some funds in the TID, basically saving up the money so we can work on this project. This one takes priority over Tigert. We did amend the plan for both Jackson and Tigert. I don't think there's enough money to do both, so I think this is the priority.
We had talked about this, I think, in 2018, and at that time, that's why we amended the TID, so we could save the money and fix this at some time in the future when the funding is available.
Correct.
Currently, you have about 150,000, I believe, or give or take?
Yeah, now with this year, it's about double that, so.
What is? Okay. Questions or discussion? Like I said, we did just discuss this in 2018. The information you have in front of you, you did have in 2018. Just refreshing everybody's memory, we talked about Tigert lately, and so this was the other piece of the puzzle, and I think the council's direction at the time was just to wait and do the whole thing. I think it's around 750, Lori?
Correct.
Couple of years, there should be enough money, and that could be replaced. And actually, technically, I just want to mention, I mean, it keeps saying bridge. It's not a bridge there, it's a culvert crossing that's filled in with dirt and cemented over, so it's not like there's a bridge there. I don't want anybody thinking that you're driving across with a car and it's a bridge and the bridge is going to fall out. It's a culvert, a barrel culvert, they call it, filled in and blacktopped over the top of the road. So, Jim and then John.
Question about time frame. I saw that it read about 2 to 3 years of completion if we wanted to. Was that for financial reasons or to do it in phases as far as time-wise? So I questioned the phasing, and then it also mentioned part 2 would be, it said the repair would be life expectancy of about 30 years versus what would be the time frame of a complete replacement.
Lori, do you have that?
I'm just looking at the memo.
At the end.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
the
not really sure on the
synopsis.
details of the life expectancy. I'm not sure. The Ready Rock well was in excess of the light of the culvert itself. But I don't know what that is.
The culvert I believe it's in good shape. I mean, there's nothing that we've seen that says the culvert or anything is bad. It's the wall on the outside of it and stuff is what's bad. And putting the Ready Rock stuff in and doing that and the longevity of that just doesn't seem to pay spending that kind of money when you could just redo the whole thing and maintain it. The question Jim is
I guess
asking,
that's what I'm kinda looking
I
at.
don't know how long that is, but
Throwing it out there as discussion, and was it really that we need to go 2 or 3 years? Or can we just do it all in one season and be done with it? I guess?
yeah, it'll be a one-time project thing. It's just the money we don't have right now to do it. Yeah, it won't be,
That's okay.
it won't be a phased project. When that gets done, it'll just be a
Okay.
one-year project, summer project deal. I got John first, and then I'll come over to Doug. John? Or-
Did we ever close that sidewalk off on the north side?
I don't believe so. No, we didn't. I think it was going to be monitored.
Oh, because there was a recommendation on there to close it off, and I didn't think we did.
I think that was when Travis was still here, and he was going to monitor it, and if it got worse, then he was going to probably close it off or do something, and
Okay, so,
unless it's something that is dangerous or bad, Lud, then we're probably,
Absolutely. We should take another look at it, because obviously this is 17, so.
Look at it again and
Spring.
see what we have there.
Perfect.
good? Jim, or do you want me to come back? Doug?
It's my understanding that we were considering, anyway, having MSA or engineering firm do a study of the culverts on Silver Creek going through the city to see with some of the extreme weather we've had with a lot of rain and everything, if those culverts were large enough to allow the water not to pool but go downstream and leave the city. Is Jackson Street going to be a bottleneck? I know we're not making a decision tonight on the stream crossing, but is that going to be included in the study if we do it? I mean, it seems to me it should be.
You know anything about that, Lori?
No.
Mike, come up to the podium. I don't really know anything about that, Doug, I guess, and
I guess we haven't talked to
One
the
of the
committee yet.
discussions was to do a downstream study to ensure the culvert sizes all the way through the city are appropriate for these extreme weather shifts that we get. Typically, the runoff, boom, all of a sudden, a couple days, we got everything going through, we got everything flooded back here. Before we start any rebuilding of any streets down, especially into this section, that could include that Jackson Street to make sure it's sized appropriately. That's about $15,000 to $25,000 study to have that done. And I think we talked about it at Public Works Committee.
Is that an MSA project or is that a DNR project?
That would be an MSA project.
my assumption would be that when Jackson Street gets done, that will be part of the engineering for that. We got the new dam now, so we'll have the new, numbers for the dam and what the dam can handle and what that thing can do and and then they'll probably look at, I'm not an engineer, but I don't think anybody sitting here at the time is gonna wanna replace that unless that thing is engineered and capable of what the dam is gonna put out given the rain event, so.
We would just have to make sure that,
Whether a study gets done or not, that will be engineered out to accommodate for the water flow underneath there.
gotta be
before it gets
careful,
replaced.
because if we make that bigger there, it's gonna affect downstream. That's why we wanted to start downstream and work up with the culverts that are there and get them, make sure they're sized appropriately upstream.
Haven't put that in the budget
I know.
yet. Okay. Clarifying for the council.
Yeah. You guys talked
Horses
about
out
it,
of the barn.
you must have talked about it at your Public Works Committee, that's why you said that, Doug?
Yeah, it just struck me that if we don't talk a little bit about the size of that culvert, and which then brings down the other study, which is a little bit off topic, but not really, because we're talking about Jackson Street, that kind of ropes that in too, so that's something we need to be aware of once we start going on, so that this other part isn't just forgot about.
Right. And that's maybe at the time, I'm guessing probably for the engineers to look at, and possibly at that time, Lori, maybe the funding that we're gonna use for that, if the experts like MSA says that we need to look at the entire stream, maybe that's where the TID funding could potentially pay for a study? We don't know, we'd
I
have to
don't know.
check into that, but it might be, being that
Depending
we're gonna do
where.
the first one here, and it's a big major expansion, what does that do downstream? And maybe that's part of the project, and that's for the professionals to recommend to the city, and we'll have to see, I guess, where that goes from there. But I mean, if you're gonna do that, I guess, if you guys wanna talk about that, you can talk about it. And you're talking downstream, well, then you gotta find the money to start replacing downstream until you get up to this one on Jackson Street. We know where the money's gonna come from for Jackson Street. That's already planned and set and in motion. But there's, how many more from the other side coming up this way? 5 of them, 6 of them, 4?
Something like that.
Yeah, so, and we have one we just talked about recently over on the west side that is one way right now, that doesn't hardly get used, so. Good, Doug?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Anybody else on this side? Any questions on the report, what you have in front of you this evening, and the direction that the city is intended on moving, or is there any further direction from council? As it stands now, it will be getting replaced at some time in the near future when the funds are available from TID 12 sharing, correct, Lori?
Correct.
Nothing else? Okay, that's it for our discussion item this evening. Project updates and staff reports. Lori?
We have 2 employees that had anniversaries in the month of February. We have Officer Kaylee Herring, 2 years, and Chris Newens from the Public Works Department, 4 years.
Mike, anything? Lud?
I think.
Any questions from council? Okay. One appointment this evening. I'd like to make the following appointment, subject to council approval. Park and Rec Committee, David Soda, appointment for a 4-year term ending on 4/30 of '24. Wow.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Any other agenda items for future council meetings? Email us, call us, let us know. Nothing else, or entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating and negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. Regarding requests for funding assistance from TID project located in TIF District Number 6, regarding Newberry Place LLC development agreement. Council will also review minutes from January 27th, 2020, closed session for accuracy. Any questions or discussion? Oh, there is none. I'm sorry about that.
Move to adjourn to closed session.
Thanks, Raleigh.
Second.
Thanks, John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.